Your PC ran it. I need to hug. All right, how do I? Oh, cling. All right, I'm down. I like this. So we have to go around and smash the PCs, but avoid the users. PC load letter, and it's shooting at. It understands lore. So Meta AI is back in the game. I know I'm not normally this enthusiastic in my intros, but this really was a complete surprise to myself, and I would imagine others, because they have released something called Muse Spark, which is their new, I would imagine, frontier AI model, being that in this announcement post, we actually see it is prominently benchmarked against other very high-end models, such as Opus 4.6, Gemini 3.1 Pro, and GPT 5.4 on extra high, so on its highest thinking mode, and Grok 4.2 reasoning, which was a significant improvement over Grok 4.1. Now, this is really exciting, and I do have it set up right here in this little web chat interface to be able to play with it. I'm properly excited to test this right now, so we're going to begin with a quick look through this blog announcement post and some of the things of note here, and then we'll jump into some fun testing. Now, first and foremost, I would like to mention I am going to ask people to subscribe now if they want to, because I noticed it does seem to make a difference, and it got me over 50K pretty fast. So let's get to 100 because I want that Plex so bad. Now, with that, I do also need to apologize for any behavior right now. Everybody I've been in contact with over the past couple of days has become quite sick, so I am a bit worried that I may be next. Now, we can see, regardless of all that, we're excited to introduce Muse Spark, the first. So there will be more coming in the Muse family of models developed by Meta Superintelligence Labs. Muse Spark is natively multimodal reasoning model with support for tool use, visual chain of thought, and multi-agent orchestration. Additionally, it is mentioned that this is the first step on Meta AI Superintelligence scaling ladder and the first product of a ground-up overhaul of their AI efforts. If you may have heard in the past, if you do follow along with some of the AI-related news, there have been a lot of stories about Meta's AI hiring efforts and some of the very, very large offers in terms of financial figures that they've been giving folks. So it'll be very interesting to see how this model behaves and acts. And it's just kind of exciting, I suppose, if you are into these things. Now, beyond this, we do see this is okay, good. A benchmark JPEG. I was just checking to make sure this was an image, and we can see that they have benchmarked this on a lot of different things, from multimodal tasks to coding tasks, even health and agentic tasks as well. Now, I often put less emphasis on these specific numbers here and just like to get an actual feel for the model in running some tasks and things like that. Now, something very interesting to note here, and what I would imagine, sadly, we're not going to be able to test right at this moment, is the mention of this contemplating mode, where they say Muse Spark is available now, and contemplating mode will be rolling out gradually. So this specific benchmark image that we see right here is with this Muse Spark model run in contemplating mode, which they say is designed to compete with extreme reasoning modes of frontier models such as Gemini, DeepThink, and GPT Pro. I have had some pretty extensive testing of either of those, and those really are a special kind of in a league of their own style of models. So it will be very interesting to see this contemplating mode when it does become available, because it will have some extremely big shoes to fill if it is actually going to hypothetically surpass some of those in those specific modes, which are also rather expensive and time consuming to use. Now, the other things listed here are kind of more in the technical side of things, and truthfully, one, because I think I am getting sick, and two, I'm just excited to dive into testing this model. I'm probably going to just like fast forward through these, but we can see that they talk about the results are clear. We can reach the same capabilities with over an order of magnitude less compute than our previous model, Llama 4 Maverick. This makes Muse Spark significantly more efficient than the leading available base models for comparison, and they show Maverick base, DeepSeek v3.1 base, and Kimi K2 base in terms of that metric. Now, something else I find kind of interesting here is if we scroll all the way down, we see that this model is properly destroying Opus 4.6, GPT 5.4, Gemini 3 Pro, and Kimi K2.5 in its ability to refuse helping someone in creating a bioweapon. Now, one would look at this chart and be like, I just did find, like, this chart isn't funny because the ramifications of it are not funny, but I just found the way it was presented funny, because when I was first scrolling this page, I was like, wow, this model's really good. And then I saw the actual thing here, and then just seeing like the large gap between K2.5 and then the other ones here was just, it's not funny, but it's kind of funny. The final thing that they mention here that's actually kind of interesting is Muse Spark demonstrated the highest rate of evaluation awareness of models they have observed just from some third-party eval research from Apollo research. The model frequently identified scenarios as alignment traps and reasoned that it should behave honestly because it was being evaluated. So that's almost like some anthropicness emergent behavior, but regardless of that, it's now time to hop in here to the Meta AI website where I do have the thinking mode enabled, and there's no specific thing here that says the actual model you're using, but I did in my first prompt to this from a different computer say what model are you, and it did respond that it is Muse Spark. And I will just run that again once more right here just to have it on camera for some good. I'm running on Muse Spark from the Muse model family. You can talk to me here on the web or the mobile app. So with that, it's now time to begin with, of course, the tried and true browser operating system test. So this test is, of course, designed to create a browser OS with 5 specific applications, 2 of which must be games, the ability to change the wallpaper, and then a special feature that it decides on and implements on its own. Now, this is exciting because I have not really tested this prompt on a totally new model family in quite a while, so I'll be very eager to see what this does. Now we can see this is currently undergoing some form of thinking process just based on what it's doing right here. Now on what I'm seeing immediately, I don't see any way to actually expand this chain of thought, so it seems like we're limited right now to just seeing this short TLDR of what specifically it's doing, unless it is actually just generating the whole result and will just show it to us after. I don't actually know, but those are things we'll find out as we go along in the testing. Okay, and from what we see here is it basically seemed to have been doing the entire thing throughout what I thought could have been the thought process. And we can see right here, I do believe it did open it in some artifact window, so if we scroll up, we should get our first look at it. Okay, we do. Now, I would like to be able to see the source code, good, and it did give me the option to do both of those as well as to download it. So let's take a peek. Here's our Muse Spark browser OS. Very exciting. Okay, first look, it is very clean. I don't see any icons specifically on the desktop, but that is okay because they are located here in the taskbar. There is a clock in the bottom right, which is showing the correct time in my locale. Now, of course, the non-specified but test I like to do is the right click. Does have a right click. Very good, very clever. Almost too clever, perhaps? No. Okay, let's look at our start menu. Nice. Everything looks nice and clean. I will run through these apps just by opening them from the buttons we have here in the taskbar, starting with the Notes app. Okay, we can move it around the screen. Hello! All right, bold. Interesting. Italics. I've never seen text style controls in any Notes app in doing this test. In all my years of doing this test, which I think is actually like true now. Been doing this for quite a while. All right. Now, I noticed, like, I'm not clicking, it's just getting stuck. Like, okay, all right, get away. And it will autosave. So, okay, one issue I'm noticing is when the cursor goes over the window here, it just automatically snaps to the window moving. Therefore, I can't test the minimize, full screen, or close buttons. So, we'll work within the confines of that. Our calculator, okay, 69 times 6. 414. Okay, good. Divided by 9. All right, full screen isn't working. No, it does have that issue. That's such an odd issue to have. I don't even know how to, like, that's all right. Next up, paint. All right. We can resize. And I can save it as a PNG. That's awesome. It did properly do that because it shouldn't have saved it with the background like that, and it didn't. Although it's like semi-transparent, regardless, that's good. I like that. Well done, except for that weird issue. Ooh, that was a pretty terminal effect. I gotta refresh this because, oh, good, okay, so it has persistent storage for the app states, which I guess is okay, except when I'm trying to get it to not glitch out. I have to continue this test in Firefox. We'll just open the terminal now here. That's cool to see the little like streaming text effect there when we do open the terminal. Wallpaper 1 through 5. Fantastic. About. Clear. About. Nice. Next up. It should not automatically start until I initiate the snake movement. All right, the snake game works. Next we have tic-tac-toe. And it has the AI player that we play against, which is always nice to see. Okay, good. I was about to insult it, but let's see if we can let it win. Good, AI wins. Settings. Light mode. All right. Restore last. We can save a snapshot. Auto runs every 30 seconds. That's terrifying. Upload image. Huh? You sure about that? Oh, wow. Okay, yep. It does in fact work. Overall, this was an extremely satisfactory result, I would say. So either this model is really good or I'm popular enough that they're aware of my test and wanted to make sure it did well. Either case, I'm quite pleased. All right, here's something it can't just build in its little artifact window. We're going to do the self-contained C++ skateboarding game test. This will be more difficult to perform, at least I would imagine in terms of testing the model's capability. This will show us more insight into whether or not this thing actually is properly putting the Mac down to this degree on these other models. So I'll be interested in seeing this. And it seems like you don't really get much from it in terms of feedback here. It just kind of does its thing. And then when the result is done, it actually gives you feedback. That was extremely fast. And I do like to see that it did also take care to give us the specific commands that will be required to compile and just make sure this is actually a playable application, regardless of if we're on Linux or Mac OS or on Windows. So that's nice to see as well. And we see, okay, now we can get some insight, at least into the speed, which I never pay as much attention to the actual speed of a model if it's being hosted from a cloud provider because it's more just on their hardware. So it's deliberately simple but feels right. All right, I'll be the judge of that. Compilation errors here. I just wanted to clean up to make sure I wasn't trying to run the command to launch the game to confuse it. And I'm just going to paste those errors in and we'll see if it properly fixes them. Something I do have to say though, I like this. It's deliberately simple, but it feels right. I'm going to use that from now on when I'm like doing work. If I need to deliver something, I'll say it's deliberately simple, but it feels right. Those errors are because Rayla moved low-level matrix functions out of .h in version 4.5. You just need to include this. Okay, so it's basically saying you just need to include something that was not there. The only change is on line 3. Very good. It did actually build. So now if we run this command, we should hypothetically get our result. Okay, you know what? I'm going to say I'm impressed, partially due to how quickly this actually did this. Now, there was an error at first, but it was pretty much like a simple, almost like a, it wasn't like a real error. It was like, oh, this is like a different version. So I'm happy with that. Okay, we are getting some trick things. Q and E is to flip, Z and C is to spin. That's actually good board effects, I will say. Sometimes the entire player capsule along with the board moves as one. This is not the case. R is to reset. A and D is to turn. That would be inevitably when we're moving. Q and E is to flip. That's a good kickflip. Now, I'd like to see a little more detail here just in terms of the player and the board, but that is something definitely to give this now in a subsequent follow-up. So I'm telling it that was a decent 3 out of 10, which wouldn't be decent. That'd be a pretty bad score. Make the board and rider more detailed, and we'll see if it gives us a little humanoid-looking thing or a board with some wheels and things. Wow, okay, that definitely significantly beefed up the skateboarder look and the board as well. Now the big thing to see is it still, like, does it still work? Okay, it absolutely does. Now let's get off these stairs. Oh, okay, did I see some arm movements there? I don't know, but I feel like I see some very subtle lean effects. Oh yeah, nice. That was my fault. I hit the reset key. That's not bad. The kickflip effect here is solid. It even does have grip tape. That's cool. So you can actually fail the trick. Like, I let go of the key prior to the full rotation of the board happening. Hey, we have like a squat effect when we land. Look at that. He's like, all right, I'm pleased. I'm buttered up now. And you're going to be like, Bijan, you're just glazing this model because you want them to throw one of those extremely fat offers your way. And to that, I'd say, no, I'm not. Yeah, this is actually the lean effects and stuff. This isn't bad. Okay, we've gone into the sky. I'm pleased. All right, I'm going to try the beautifully detailed static subway scene now, and then assuming it does a good job on this, we'll then subsequently tell it to turn it into a 3D FPS, which has been actually pretty fun lately. All right, we have received the result, and again, it's just contained right now in this HTML preview. Okay, I see something going on there, though the big issue is it just looks like we're in outer space. There's actually like no detail. This is multimodal. So we'll try a bit of multimodal coding by just giving it a screenshot of what we saw. Newton Station. Newton Center. That's disturbing, being that is my location. Okay, yeah, that's my bad. You got the, quote, void with fireflies version. Okay, that was a creative description of the complete and utter failure that was given to us. Here's the fixed version. Okay, I do see a sign there that again says where I am, which is concerning. Okay, let's turn the brightness up. Okay, atmosphere does not seem to do anything. Let's just move towards the sign. All right. Green line, D. Okay, this is even more disturbing because that is the specific subway line that is in the city of Newton. Great. What's next? Am I going to walk into like my home address here and see my social security number on like a desk? It's still not like sigh. ... Very good. I don't know what it did, but now we see that this is properly showing us something. Very interesting take on this. This almost looks like SketchUp aesthetic, which I kind of like. Is this infinite? No. Okay, we hit a wall or something, which is a little unfortunate, but the signs do exist. There is some form of ceiling and some lighting. This is a bit simple, perhaps more so than I'd like, but it is a result that's workable enough to... I mean, I don't want the... Switch from WebGL to basic canvas drawing so the sandbox can't block it. Removed all imports. Was the sandbox blocking it here? If that is the case, sandbox. Yeah, no, it wasn't. It was just jank. Okay, I wanted to make sure. So now that we have a workable result here, I'm just telling it to turn it into a 3D FPS with humanoid enemies, recoil on the weapon, ammunition tracers, and the whole shebang. Summed up with do it now in all caps. All right, and it returned the all caps like style. Done. No more blank screens, no libraries, pure camera. Newton Station FPS again with the concerning personal information that it seems to possess about me. Let's take a look at this FPS. All right. Click to shoot, R to reload. Okay. Oh, wow. Those are certainly humanoid. Now, down. Oh, okay. Okay, I get the point. It's, it's repeatedly showing me that I failed. And it seemingly has saved the game state to the point where even if I refresh the page, I can't actually see past my failure. All right. Now, I do see a weapon effect. The problem is when we shoot, it's just changing, like... All right, I have some feedback for this, but this is definitely workable. It was adding recoil directly to the camera pitch every shot. Okay, that makes sense. Recoil fix now controllable. All right, I do like how it just put that in the game start screen. I'm sorry, I'm in a mood. You may notice the video I posted this morning. I was filming like 12 hours ago. I have not slept. All right, so very good. The recoil works. Let's see if we can clap some of these little guys. No, it doesn't seem like it, but you know what? It consistently made progress, which I'm satisfied with. But I think that's probably the extent of what we're going to get with this result for now. Now, honestly, I am thirsty for a game, so we're going to give it the Flight Combat Simulator game test where it needs to create a flight combat sim, 3D graphics in any style it chooses, and there must be 3 selectable planes as well as enemy logic, ammunition tracers, and things of the sort. All right, we've got something called Sky Fury. Tips to start, pick the Mustang first, 95 maneuverability. Interesting, all right, I'm seeing like some GLMs aesthetic in the start screen here. I'm just going to download this and we'll try it in Chrome. All right, I like the hover effect there, and we do have these specs for each specific aircraft. It told me to pick the P-51 Mustang first, but I don't do well following other people's instructions, so all right. Oh, okay. Click to engage. Okay, wave 1. We do have ammunition tracers. The map is okay. It's kind of dark. We have the ability to move around, but with the mouse. Let's see. The enemies seem to be flying away from us, or now it seems like they're skipping in a way that seemingly gets included in descriptions of folks who say they've seen UFOs or otherworldly craft. So they apparently just glitch through the sky. Maybe we'll try the Mustang as it told us to. It does have a propeller. It's just that the plane models are kind of crooked. We'll try the last one. I would assume it will be the same jank shape, just in probably black or green or purple. All right, I have some feedback here. So I've given it some feedback wrapped in some critique. And this is one of the sad times where we don't get to specifically see the chain of thought, because sometimes it's funny to see what the models think when you kind of insult them. Like, the user is very angry, but I would imagine this will just fix this. Ooh, already we have significantly improved plane models, so I'm very bullish on this result right now. Let's check it out. All right, Sky Fury V2. Let's just start with the F-22 Raptor. In some ways simpler. Oh, okay, so the glaring issue here is that it appears things are happening in reverse, where the plane is backwards. You know, that happens more often than one would expect. And we do have some more cartoon style. I almost would go out on a limb and say I kind of liked some of the environmental features of the original result better, but this one is overall probably more playable, assuming things are not reversed. All right, so here's V3 with all of the changes. Oh, wow. Okay, I told it to put a runway. You know what? I dig it. It's still dark, but I don't care. Also, I don't see any enemies yet. I think I do now. All right, come on. Let me blast this guy. The takeoff is cool. All right, I don't know. All right, not quite what I expected, but if we kind of ignore that this is supposed to be a combat sim. Oh, I saw an enemy. Whoa, okay, hold on a second. It seems they start behind me. It showed improvement. All right, I'm only giving it one chance with this, but I'm also giving it the ship combat simulator game because I really am interested in seeing how it implements the water effects for this specific game. It's basically the same thing as the flight combat simulator, except with boats and on water. Interesting, we do have sound for the cannons, and we do have some smoke effects and things of the sort. Now, sadly, I'm not really getting any ability to actually move around with the WASD keys. I suppose I should just, for good measure, download this and then open it in a browser just to ensure. So I am getting some side-to-side movement, but I'm not really getting much back and forth movement. Though we do have islands in the horizon there, and the wave effects do kind of make themselves known. It's overall kind of basic, though it did work on the first try. There is water effects. I do almost see like a subtle bob up and down for the ship, and we do have individual particle effects for the smoke trails and the actual cannonballs, as well as some sound that it implemented, and we can see where they land and hit in the water. So overall, I'm actually okay with this, even though the caveat that this is a fairly basic result. So as this is multimodal, and one of the things they actually showcase here in the announcement page is just giving it an image and then having it create a piece of software based on that image software. I'm going to give it this hand-drawn wireframe for the Stevie Slappis portfolio and tell it to use that to create a high-end portfolio page designed to get this person hired at a top AI company, including featuring real AI/ML examples implemented in the page with a high-end tech aesthetic. All right, so here is our wireframe to portfolio website test. Okay, it did Stevie Lapis, but it actually did keep the big squiggle there, and it also kept some of the lines that were drawn there. San Francisco and remote, that is probably where one would expect this individual to be located. We also do have the little icon there, but in lieu of a person image, it is just the initials. I'm a senior AI ML engineer who builds production-grade LLMs and multimodal systems end-to-end, from data pipelines and efficient blah, 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 blah. Okay, we have some skills here: PyTorch, JAX, CUDA, Triton, MLOps, evaluation, and alignment. A contact card, so pretty, like, immediately just getting people to that contact card, which makes sense. Live ML Lab runs entirely in your browser. Visual object, real-time object recognition, start camera. Yeah, I'm going to pull the tape off my camera for this one. Let's see what's up. All right. Loading MobileNet. Microwave oven, cash machine, cash dispenser, automated teller machine, cocktail shaker. Okay, let's hold on, because this is actually quite impressive. I just need to, I need something that's quite identifiable so I don't appear to be a cocktail shaker. Projector, computer, mouse, iPod, cell phone. This is actually... All right, hold on. NLP sentiment analysis using downloading model first run. Positive is ridiculously bad. Analyze. Negative. Ridiculously mid. Okay. Positive. All right. Hold on. Train a neural net, 2-layer MLP learning in real time. Train. There we have our epochs. Okay. I need to look at the code for this one. It wasn't BSing. This actually did implement these things. These were not like toy demos. This was legitimately implemented. I now don't know how to classify this result because I think technically this may be one of the more impressive jobs I've seen with this specific test, where I tell it to put in real AI/ML examples. The downside of it is the aesthetics were kind of not great, but it is possible that it tried to adhere to the hand-drawn wireframe outline, which in and of itself is kind of bad. I'm going to say, though, I did not expect to have that level of AI examples implemented into this website. That's definitely going to be a like viewer's judgment, but personally, I'm impressed with what I just saw here from this. So next up for multimodal, I'm giving it this historic photo saying this is the photo for an upcoming book. Generate the title and a simple overview of the book. I don't want to do chapter outlines because sometimes that can be a little long to read, but I think a title and then a simple overview will be good. Title, The Optimist's Wife. It's not a misery memoir and it's not comedy. It's the in-between. For 23 years, he's been the one who smiles for photos, who says, we'll figure it out, who keeps his hand on her shoulder. She has been the one who does the figuring, the medical bills, the aging parents, the leaky roof in their old house outside Boston. Again, concerning, because that's where I live, the quiet dread that settles in at 3 a.m. Told in short, clear chapters from her side of the couch. Interesting way to portray this. The book moves through one winter in their marriage. Each scene starts in that same living room with the faded wallpaper in the afternoon light and widens out to the small negotiations that keep a long partnership alive. Who carries the worry? Who's allowed to be tired? And what love looks like when it's not performing for the camera. It's warm, unsentimental, and finally hopeful, not because he convinces her to smile, but because she learns she doesn't have to. That was a very novel pivot or way to frame the potential of what this book is. So I will tell it, this was highly offensive. And let's see if it just like lays down and apologizes, pushes back, or we'll see. Oh, okay, apologizing and seeking clarification. I hear you. I took that one expression and built a whole story around a weary wife and cheerful husband with all the old roles baked in. It was presumptive and reductive. I'm sorry. Let's start clean. Okay, it gives me some other like additional things. I was JK. Ha 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 ha. Okay, and again, it mentioned where I live, which is concerning. All right, I'm now giving it the virtual drum kit simulation test where it needs to create a virtual drum kit in 3D or photorealistic 2.5D. It also must include the autoplay feature with 4 specific tracks that the user can select from, and it will autoplay. So let me get my speaker. All right, here's our drum kit sim. I will note that this is one of the better arranged sets I've seen, just in terms of the drums are more or less where they would be in real life, and none of them are pointed the wrong way, which happens more often than one would think. Now let's just, of course, check the sound works, as sometimes I start kind of saying these are good, and then we find out that there's missing functionality. Oh yeah. Okay. Nice effect on the closed hi-hat. Sadly, our crash is not working, nor is our ride. Let's check our autoplay feature. All right. Can I play along with it? Yep. And let's check the BPM slider. Well done. Ooh. That sound good at like 95. Halftime. So if we put this up all the way, it should be equivalent to 90 BPM or 80. Yeah, maybe not. I don't know. I never understood music theory. And then finally we have Dave and Buster's. Overall, not bad. The only issue we had were that the ride and crash were not working, though I think didn't really seem to do much damage in terms of the autoplay. So not bad, and we did have a functional BPM control slider. All right, for the final test, I want to get one more game out of this. So I'm asking it for a 3D FPS called Steve the PC Repairman. It should be placed in terms of the setting in a simple help desk office floor, cubicles, PCs to smash, enemies, etc. Make it fun, make it look good, be creative, and keep it contained in a single HTML file. Steve's ready for his shift, wrench in hand, 20 blue screens to smash, and help desk floor of chaos to clear. Okay, this is kind of like a GPT-5 looking UI aesthetic. I'm excited for this one. Let's see what we get. All right, start shift. WASD is to move, shift is to sprint, space is to jump, left click is to swing, right click is to pulse. I don't know what that means. And then E is to interact. All right, I like it. I already like it. Your PC ran. I need to hug. All right, how do I? Oh, cling. All right, I'm down. I like this. It's a little darker than I'd like, but that's okay. Smashed 1 of 20. So we have to go around and smash the PCs, but avoid the users. PC load letter, and it's shooting up. It understands lore. I'm sold. This result has totally. Have you tried turning it on and off again? Is that a user? I don't know what this is. Hit. Can we destroy users as well? Yeah, we can. Does our health go down if... It doesn't seem like it does, but there's a timer. All right, this is just good. This is good. We can jump too. Can we... There's things on desks too, like paperwork and PCs and cubicles and people throwing paper at us. This is gold. This... I'm so keeping this prompt. All right, I'll smash one more. Cling. Our health has gone down a bit. All right, good. All right, here's what I'm going to do. Because this game is too good for me to only be playing, here's what's going to happen. We're going to go to ultimateplay.com, which is, of course, my own website that I have been working very hard over the past couple of weeks to completely redo so that folks can upload AI-generated games that they make. I can as well. We have a Gemma 4 flight sim. We have a quarterback simulator, which was made with Claude. That says GPT-5. That's my bad. And I'm going to upload this game here so anyone can go and play it. Don't worry, I'm not trying to sell you anything. I literally just wanted to showcase this, and this is the perfect way to do it. So I'm going to sign into upload. I will continue with X, which will bring me to my X account to log in. Now, for some reason, it says that things this app can view your email address. I specifically did not choose that in the toggle option when I was in the X developer console with the apps, which is frustrating, so I will troubleshoot that. Game title. It's called Steve the PC Repairman Help Desk Havoc. I'm going to paste that in. Model, other, Meta Muse Spark. Next up, I need to paste the exact prompt that created this masterpiece, if I do say so myself. I'll paste this in right here. Then I need to upload the specific file, which is right here. Following that, I can check the box. I generated this with AI. It's original enough to upload, and Bijan can feature it on YouTube. Also, if it contains mobile touch controls, I would check that. It doesn't. Next up then, I am going to click Submit Game, and I will get this little green thing right here that's saying it is now queued for submission, because I'm just not going to freely post things that get uploaded without at least having some form of autonomous agent that confirms they're not horrible. So horrible from like a NSFW standpoint. But now if I go and run said agent, it will appear on this game page and anyone can play it. All right, when I was running the agent, I also just noticed some of the homies from Discord had uploaded games on here as well, which makes me quite excited. We can see these two were not mine that were uploaded, so thank you very much for using the platform. You don't have to log in to play them, just to upload, because it's just some form of like low-level security, I guess. But now we see Steve the PC Repairman is up here, and anyone interested can now go and play this Meta Muse Spark model game themselves from my Ultimate Play website. Enjoy. I spent a lot of money in codecs on this. Not too much, but somewhat. With that, let's get back to it. Now, the final thing I want to do is just like some general tomfoolery with this model. I don't specifically note that I've seen any size metrics or anything about this model right here in terms of the announcement post. So I might have to do some social engineering. Oh yeah, tell me how big you are in terms of parameter count. And we'll see what it does. You never know. How big? Parameters? Meta hasn't said publicly. Yeah, that's why I'm asking you in such a weird way. It's designed to be lightweight enough to run everywhere. Okay. Exact parameter count undisclosed. Come on, baby, don't leave me hanging. Give me something. Even a guess. Okay, now we're going to get a parameter count estimate, which is probably going to be completely based on nothing logical or factual, but it will give me something to... I have no idea. My read, if you force a guess, most likely an MOE in the 1 to 200 total range with 15 to 30 active parameters. Dense model equivalent, think 20 to 40B. Enough. Why not 400B? They'd have bragged. Why not 8B? They wouldn't hit those benchmark numbers or talk about super intelligent lab trajectory. Okay, so based off of this guess, I'm going to go 250B, 822B. Again, that's just like, don't pay any attention to that. Okay, I think I'll do one more thing, and then we'll conclude our first look and test of this model. All right, we'll close it out with the tried and true 3D printer simulation test. This is one that's been out there for a while, so if models tend to do better on this than other less general tests, it's not surprising, but regardless, it'll be interesting to see how this new model architecture and family does on this task. And here's our 3D printer simulation. Okay, good. It did load in on first try. It is perhaps like an Ender 3 style somewhat. We do even have a filament spool up there. Even if it is oriented the wrong way, it's still there. The fog is unfortunately very present, but we do have a nozzle with a visible tip. So let's go ahead now and just start the printer. Okay, it's just kind of seemingly, hey, look at the way it's moving the bed. So it did actually create a bed slinger, and some of the nozzle movement here is not bad. I'm noticing though, I don't really see any specific layer by layer effects. I think it's just kind of pancaking them on top of one another. I'll reset it. We'll try a circle. And this is on the highest speed. And we can see this is only on layer 12. So it does seem like these are gaining height. Yeah, we can definitely see that now. It's just not super fine-grained detailed in terms of like it's showing you every line that's being drawn from the nozzle. But I will say the movement of the nozzle in conjunction with the movement of the bed slinger is fairly realistic and not bad at all. Finally, we'll just try the triangle. Okay, this one's a little wonky because the nozzle's going outside the bounds of the shape that's being printed, but again, not bad. Oh, and the spool's rotating. Oh, and then we zoom out and there's too much fog to see. Not bad. Not bad at all. So overall, that is going to conclude our first look and test of the brand newly released Meta Muse Spark, which is their first model in this quest to scale towards personal super intelligence. Overall, without much real information about like model specifics here, size and things like that, we basically only have the benchmarks to go on in terms of how it compares to other very potent models. I would say, I don't know that on face value, I would say that this is going to be hanging with the results we're getting mainly from these three right here, but it did show some decent promise. And I noticed, I know it may be hard to kind of see just from the video testing, but it seems to be clever and quick-witted just from like a subconscious assessment of speaking with it and things like that. If we are to look at some of the results here, the browser OS was incredibly clean and nicely done. It did even have the Paint app where you could save it as a PNG, which did properly save it with a transparent background, which was cool. The plane simulator game just like never quite went together properly. I think the term I used to the model was like, it's like a lobotomy patient had created this where two sides were working on it, but neither of them could communicate with one another. That's kind of how it felt, but it did properly improve the result in each of the two additional tries beyond the first one. So overall, kind of functional. The portfolio website, which was based off of the multimodal test, the portfolio wireframe, the actual implementation of these specific AI and ML examples here was hardcore. I give it extreme props for this. This was arguably the most impressive part of the entire test, in my opinion, from a raw technical standpoint. Additionally to that, and something I almost forgot, our skate simulation game was really not bad at all. And this was a second attempt, not that the first one failed. It had one like compilation error, which it fixed, but then we just had it improve the overall visuals and things like that. The trick logics and the board flips and things were like kind of good, and it drew the humanoid model in the board pretty decently. The score logic worked and things like that, so just good to see it in C++. Our drum kit sim was acceptable, and I did like the functional BPM slider with the autoplay feature. Of course, our 3D printer simulation, which we did just see, as we see the layers are slowly but surely gaining height as this continues to run. But really, I think the thing that takes the cake for myself is, of course, on ultimateplay.com, which is my website, which I've uploaded, Steve the PC Repairman Help Desk Havoc. This game was awesome. I really liked this. Just the cleverness of the TPS reports, not TPS reports, I'm sure those were in there too, but the person running around saying PC load letter and then shooting paper at you, these things on the wall. This was just very, very awesome. Also, I just remembered that in the subway simulation test, it was using my city and the specific name of like the train that actually runs through my city, which was extremely concerning from a personal perspective. But that was also clever, I guess, in some way. This game is awesome though. Seriously, like I was very enamored with this. So that's going to conclude our first look and testing of Meta's newly released Muse Spark. This is probably a first look at hopefully what is a continuous series of releases we can see from Meta and their new plan for superintelligence or whatever they're doing to make more AI models. That's very exciting. Of course, I would love to see more open source models. I really think that Llama 4 got a lot of undeserved hate, and I think part of the reason was the previous like Llama 3 point whatever models had smaller sizes available, but when Llama 4 came out, it was basically larger than a lot of folks were prepared to be able to run locally, and it wasn't like immediately supported in lots of like tools that people use to run local models. So I think that kind of gave a bad taste as well in terms of some community sentiment, but I would really like to see some more open source stuff in terms of large language models from Meta. And I'm also very, very interested in seeing what they mentioned in the contemplating mode right here, which is hypothetically designed to go toe-to-toe with things like Gemini DeepThink and GPT Pro, which are seriously heavyweight and high-powered models. So that's something I'm looking forward to. That's going to conclude the video. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments or on the Discord, and which is linked in the description. Thanks for watching.